Hi everybody, welcome back to Bree's Science Lab. Today we're going over those lower leg bones, which means the tibia and the fibula. Sometimes when you learn these together, they're a little hard to remember which is which. How I remember it is this is the tibia, it's more massive, it's more medial, right? The fibula is a lot tinier, it's little, right? Now, if you ever grew up and you heard your parents tell you like, don't be fibbing, you know, a fib is a little lie, right? Or a lie, it's a little lie though, a fib. So this is a lot littler, right? So little lie, fibula, and this is actually gonna be more lateral, right? We're going to start with the tibia though. The tibia is actually going to articulate with the more distal end of your femur, and that would be the more proximal end of your tibia, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with that. This, you are looking at a right tibia, okay? A right tibia. And you're looking at the anterior aspect, right? How do we know this? Well, we can go ahead and we can start with the more proximal tricks and tips. This is the medial condyle, all right? The medial condyle, you can see a little bit better. This is the medial articular surface right here. So this is the medial condyle. The medial is a little bit more massive. If it helps if I show it like this, it's a little bit bigger. So I like to say medial is massive. If you go down the medial side, you can see the medial malleolus, right? The medial malleolus. You have the lateral malleolus on your fibula, but due to this being the more medial bone, you have the medial malleolus right here. So if you can see the whole bone, if you're taking a test or you're taking this class at a university, sometimes you don't get to see the whole bone when you're being tested, right? So just remember, this would be the medial malleolus. If you're looking at just the top half, medial is more massive, right? And I'll show you guys again. This is the part that articulates with the femur to make up that knee area. So this was that medial condyle. This is the medial condylar surface, or articular surface if you prefer. That makes this the lateral. Now, if I kind of tilt it so the light gets it just right, this is actually called the intercondylar eminence. The intercondylar eminence, this whole raised portion. In front of that, this would be the anterior articular surface and the posterior articular surface on the back. If I kind of zoom in, maybe if I can cloud it a little bit, you can see it a little bit better, right? This right here, if you guys see, you have these two little points on the intercondylar eminence. This one would be that medial intercondylar tubercle. Your medial intercondylar tubercle, because it's on the medial condyle side, or the more medial one. This one is your lateral intercondylar tubercle. Again, you can kind of see the points if I hold it like this. If that helps, I'm going to cloud it. That makes up your intercondylar eminence, that whole raised portion, if you ever hear that word. And that's eminence with an E. Now, if we go down, you can see this little bump, right? This is the tibial tuberosity. The tibial tuberosity. The ligament of the patella is actually going to attach here. If we move down, all right, this is like the body or the shaft of the tibia. I'm going to show you the posterior aspect really quick because sometimes you are tested on this. The soleal line. Now, the soleal line is really hard to see, but it goes from the lateral aspect to the medial aspect on the posterior side. And it's a bit of a line. Let's see if I can trace it for you guys. So it's going right here to right here. It's a little hard to see. I'll try to cloud it a little bit. Let me go that side. That is the soleal line, okay? And it's found on the posterior aspect of the tibia. Now, looking back at the anterior aspect, if we go down, right, we're now on the more distal end. That's going to be making up that ankle region, right? This is the oops, I apologize. This is the medial malleolus, right? The medial malleolus. And this would be that inferior articular surface or facet, interior articular surface or facet, okay? And last but certainly not least, you have this little notch when you're looking at the more lateral portion of the bone. A little hard to see with the light, but you can kind of see it there. There's like a little notch. Let me cloud it a bit. That is called the fibular notch. Now, I know it's on the tibia, so why are we calling it the fibular notch? Well, that's because the fibula is going to articulate there, okay? So it's going to kind of come together like this, and you're going to have that lateral malleolus of the fibula articulating in that region, right? So that was the tibia. I'm going to put that down. That was the more medial bone, right? Now we're going to be looking at the fibula. There's not much on the fibula, right? So right now I'm holding it. This would be the superior or more proximal end. This would be that inferior or more distal end, right? So the only thing you have to know really for most classes on the distal end would be that lateral malleolus. If I go up to the more proximal end, you have the head of the fibula and the styloid process of the fibula. You probably have seen, if you've watched any of my other videos, a lot of styloid processes, right? A styloid process is kind of like that point. It honestly looks like a stylus, right? That's how I always remembered it. It looks like a stylus. They're usually like little pointy parts coming off of the head of a bone. And it looks like almost like you could write with it, right? And that's how I remember it. And that's really all you have to know about the fibula. Sometimes you are asked about the neck of the fibula. If you ever are asked about the neck of the fibula, the neck is generally right below the head, right? So you can consider this area right here. Tidbit. If you're ever asked about the interosseous borders, just to know, when looking at the tibia, the interosseous border is going to be the side opposite of that medial malleolus. Okay, sometimes you'll hear interosseous margin. It's talking about the interosseous membrane in between these two structures, right? So they go like this, but there's like a gap in between them right here, right? And that gap is filled with this interosseous membrane, and therefore the border of those membranes would be known as the interosseous margin or border, and they're always going to be opposite that malleolus, right? So it's going to be more lateral on the tibia because it's going to be the side closest to the fibula. Thank you, and stay tuned for another episode.